So, I'm starting to think that this whole production here might be cursed. Between my last camera falling off the tripod and breaking its lens, and then the light bulbs in my usual filming area burning out and having no replacements available. Yeah, I've been having a hard time getting this third episode filmed here. The Stuart was produced between 1941 and 1944, and served with several Allied armies, including the United States, Britain, Canada, the Soviet Union, France, and even the Chinese. Served in all theaters: Europe, Africa, Italy, Russian Front, Southeast Asia. So, this was the earliest variant, the M3. This one represents a vehicle in the 32nd Armored Regiment, 3rd Armored Division, part of Operation Torch in North Africa, late 1942 through early 1943. Looking closely, I think you can just about see where there are the extra 30 caliber machine guns on the front of the hull. This is a holdover from pre-war tank design, where tanks were basically seen as mobile armored machine gun nests. Also, from this angle, you can see some of my early attempts at using the green vehicle weathering kit. You can see the heavy sand buildup on the front drive sprocket, and also the heavy dust buildup just all over the front like that. I think I did a pretty good job making this thing look like it drove right through a sand dune. The Stuart was originally powered by radial aircraft engines. However, as the war went on, those aircraft engines became extremely high in demand, and production shifted to the M5 tank, which replaced the radial aircraft engine with an engine borrowed from domestic cars. This new engine layout resulted in a higher deck on the rear of the tank. I think... yeah, you should be able to see the comparison there. This M5 also represents a Sherman of the 3rd Armored Division, this time in Normandy after D-Day. These spiky protrusions on the front of the Stuart are for busting through the thick hedgerows of the Norman bocage. In service with the American Army, the tanks equipped with these hedge busters were known as rhinos. In British and Commonwealth armies, these tanks were called prongs. The black stripe on the side of the turret is a row of spare track links. The prevailing attitude amongst tankers was, if you're going to be carrying a lot of stuff that adds extra weight, you might as well put it somewhere where it might add an extra layer of armor, just in case. Phantom, here, is one of my favorite tank models that I've built. For the most part, the decals are recycled from an old Universal Carrier from the British Army. Just unused markings from the desert campaigns. When I got this kit, I wasn't quite sure what I'd wanted to do with it at first. At one point, I was considering doing the Haunted Tank from the old DC Comics Haunted Tank series. And I do mean old. I think they may have stopped publishing that series back in the 70s. I'd also considered doing another tank for the 761st Tank Battalion. However, what I finally decided on was to just have some fun with it and create one for the Canadian Army. Now, the M3 that I'd built earlier had options for creating a tank of the Canadian Army, but when I went to apply those decals onto this kit, I realized it just wasn't very colorful. Like, they were all just dark green. I think the light blue on the fender here looks much more visually interesting. The commander and the driver are both leftovers from one of my Sherman tanks. Strictly speaking, they're supposed to be Americans, but I'm not sure that tanker uniforms had that much difference in Normandy between armies anyway. Now, the little Indian princess figure on the side is actually from a set of custom decals that came with an Italeri World of Tanks kit. It's the same Tamiya kit as the other M5, but I decided not to add the spare track links, otherwise it would have just obscured the decal on the side. I also had to leave off the 30 caliber machine gun by the driver's hatch. There was absolutely no room left to put it on there while the driver is sitting out of the hatch. The serial number at the rear is the only decal that came from the actual Stuart kit. And even then, I removed the part of the decal that contained the letters USA. Now, one way that you can tell almost right away that this is not an authentic Canadian tank of the Allied armies in Normandy is that the Canadians did not use the M5. They only used the M3 series. But again, this is less about historical accuracy and more about I just wanted to have some fun with this. I also thought this was worth talking about. Not entirely sure what it's supposed to represent, or if it even represents a real vehicle. It's one of my dad's old toys. But I've always kind of thought the turret resembles the turret from the M3 Stuart. Yeah, there's a certain roundness to that, and assuming these are to scale, roughly the same caliber gun, yeah, that looks eerily similar. So, that was my collection of Stuart tanks. Next time, we are going into enemy territory.